We can get started without Jill, though, right? We still have a quorum.
We do.
Okay. Okay, Becky, we'll go ahead. Okay, we'll call our September 8th PFC meeting to order. Roll call. At this time, Jill is on her way, so she'll be here momentarily. Sarah is absent and excused. This evening, we have some public appearances. We'll get to that first. And Chief Hinkes, you want to introduce your special guest?
If you want to come up, and I don't know what works best, or if you want to use the podium to do your presentation. This is Amanda Didier with the Lakeshore Regional Child Advocacy Center, and a godsend for kids and the police departments. So anyhow.
Welcome, Amanda.
Hi, thank you, Chief. I appreciate it. I also appreciate you prioritizing me in the agenda. I am on the Cedarburg Common Council, and we have a 7 p.m. meeting, and we're discussing a new public safety building. So I think the Police and Fire Commission would like me to be there too.
Sure.
Thanks. So I'm Amanda Didier. I am the Executive Director for Lakeshore Regional Child Advocacy Center. I did bring some of our annual reports. Would you like me to pass them out, leave them here, put them somewhere else
You can leave them right there.
Yeah, you could leave them there so they
on the
can
table?
grab 'em.
Sure.
We'll grab them later.
I'd be happy to. So I'm the Executive Director for Lakeshore Regional Child Advocacy Center. So we are the 15th center in the state. And what we do is we provide support and resources through collaborative interventions with law enforcement, human services, and other agencies to children and families impacted by abuse and neglect. That includes physical abuse, sexual abuse, drug endangerment, domestic violence, any situation in which a child might be a victim or a witness to a crime. I've actually, unfortunately, also had the circumstance to be involved in some arson cases where children were unfortunately involved as well. So, been doing the work about 27 years, but I've been lucky to do it here in Ozaukee County since 2015. We just had our 10-year anniversary of the initiative, and that has really been a great honor. So I started out with a space here in the city of Port inside the Ozaukee County Administrative Building. So my first space for this initiative was in that building. And we were there for about 2 years. And then we moved to our present site, which is a center that's in Saukville on Foster Drive. So that's where we're at now. But what we do is we do recorded forensic interviews of children. Those are developmentally sensitive interviews that are used to collect information from children in a non-leading, non-suggestive way that minimizes trauma and promotes the legal defensibility of those interviews, builds stronger cases, and builds safer communities, and promotes justice and healing, which is our ultimate goal. So we do recorded forensic interviews at that site. We also do medical services. We are actually the first place in Ozaukee County that was doing sexual assault kits. So there are now kits that can be done at Aurora and Ascension locations, but we were the first place that offered that through a partnership with Children's Wisconsin. And then we also do on-site advocacy. That's both through one of our staff advocates as well as through a partnership with Advocates of Ozaukee. They come on site for any cases involving sexual assault and domestic violence. So all these services are really important to our community. We've served over 4,000 children through our initiative since our onset. That includes children from other communities as well, though I want to say it includes children from some neighboring counties as well. But close to, I think it's about 800 children from Ozaukee County have been helped through this initiative. And I don't have the number offhand for children from Port Washington, But rest assured, a good share of those is from right here in Port Washington. So important to know that the service is needed, and I can see on your faces that hearing that number is difficult, and I know it is. But what I want everyone to know, and what I like to reassure people, and I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, is that these children always existed in our communities. Now they're getting to the services they need to heal and thrive. And that's because of that partnered, integrated approach. So whenever we're involved, we do so with law enforcement and human services right on site at our center, sometimes also the district attorney's office. And so when we're conducting these cases, it's really to support those legally sound investigations. And the outcomes are better for children that come to a child advocacy center. We know that they are less likely to have additional trauma in their childhood if they come to a CAC. We also know that there's a cost savings to the community when a CAC is used. It's an outdated number now, but at one point the average was about $1,400 per case is saved for a child that goes through a child advocacy center instead of traditional methods where they might have multiple interviews at multiple sites. And that's not to mention the cost savings across their lifespan. So that number is a 7-digit number because they're not accessing community resources in the way they would have to if they didn't have that early intervention. So lots of reach, lots of good collaborative efforts that are happening. We also do education in the community, both through our partners like law enforcement and human services, but also we do expert testimony. So I've been involved in quite a few cases through Ozaukee County District Attorney's Office. So it helps promote that legal sustainability and really help promote justice. So I really want to take a moment, though, to express the significance of Port Washington Police Department in our efforts. They were among our first partners of the agencies we partner with here in Ozaukee County. And they have been involved in crucial collaborative endeavors. That includes my involvement in collaborating with Chief Hingis and the other chiefs in public town halls that we did in 2020 when tensions were high. And we had the opportunity to demonstrate to our community that we were a united front, invested in community safety and well-being for children and families. We also have been involved in several recent and high-profile cases together that unfortunately have impacted residents in Port Washington. And really, I would say Port Washington PD under Chief Hingis has a storied history of an enduring commitment to addressing child trauma head on. And I am so thankful for your continued partnership, Chief, truly. Yeah, it's been such a pleasure. But this work is important. It's work we're continuing to do and work that is crucial for the safety of our community. Like I said, we are the 15th center in the state. There's now the 16th, which is also managed by us. It's in Sheboygan. I think we all know they needed a child advocacy center too. So we do have one up there as well. We are the 2 newest. So besides that, there are 14 others in the state, so 16 total. And so we're really lucky to have this service in this community. And I'm grateful that the community has allowed us to have a presence here and really be part of the community. So I'm grateful for that. And I'd entertain any questions. And I'm not that rushed. I just have to leave by 6:40. That's my goal. So.
Commissioners, have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, Amanda, I'm sorry. First of all, thank you for all your work that you're doing, and thanks for being here. I may have missed this. Are you a 501c3?
We are. So we are a standalone nonprofit. We were incorporated in 2016 to open the center that we built in Saukville. So prior to that, I actually used to be the interviewer in Milwaukee, and I used to see Ozaukee County cases down there. And so that's what sort of led this initiative was we really need this in our own community rather than driving down to Milwaukee. So I came up here originally, started as an employee of Ozaukee County, and then we developed the nonprofit.
Okay, so from employee to nonprofit.
Correct.
And then what percentage of your funding, for example, is from donations?
Very good question. So we are about, I have to redo it because we had an increase in funding through the state budget in July. We were quite grateful to have the support of the Joint Finance Committee for an increase in funding to child advocacy centers across the state. I was heavily involved in that legislative advocacy effort, and we're very grateful actually to our bill author, who is also law enforcement, who is Senator Jesse James and Representative Pat Snyder. So they're our bill authors. I know that's not what you asked about, but I
Oh,
just
that's good.
one other moment to really toot the horn of law enforcement and first responders' involvement in making CACs what they are today. But I would say now it's probably about 30% fundraising I have to do in donations.
30%, okay.
Yeah, so the rest is county and now state contributions, some federal and state grants. And I also applied to and have relationships with a lot of foundations in the area as well.
Okay.
So
And then my last question is, how can we as a commission help?
I appreciate that question as well. I would say supporting any additional law enforcement positions that are asked for is always great. The more law enforcement officers and leaders we have, that helps us to make sure that kids get timely response and get what they need as far as getting to us. Support them also attending trainings that are relevant to child abuse investigations. That's another really important piece. I know that first responders are strapped with a lot of unfunded mandates, and I certainly want to make sure that we can support in any way possible. But I do understand that that's a burden as well. So I would say that's good, and just being aware of the Child Advocacy Center is a good step, and knowing that we're a resource. Like I said, I have our annual reports here. There's a good success story in there about someone that came through our center. I also just left some pens as well, but knowing about us is great. We are looking for board members, if anybody's interested. We have a nonprofit board that's sort of made up of members from the 4-county region. And yeah, I would say and support as you can any positions that will add to the child abuse response. Because really, in order to have a uniform and cohesive and integrated, thoughtful child abuse response team, we need first responders that are getting, everything they need to do their job well and do it competently.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jill, Ed, any questions?
Do you do training then of law enforcement officers and first responders in the community?
We do. So we do a training called Essential Facts that is sort of a what to do in the field if you meet a child who's making a disclosure. So it's trained to help first responders know how to respond and what to say to a child when you're trying to preserve their statement for coming to a center like ours. It helps prepare them for that. And it's commonly done with law enforcement, but I've actually done it for arson investigators. I've done it not for full fire departments, but I was just with the assistant chief in Sheboygan today, and I was thinking, I think it'd be a good idea don't you think? I think that might be nice. I've done it for dispatchers as well. That's a nice group. We really hit that group in 2020 because children didn't have access to the mandated reporters that they usually were telling things to. I think here in Port, we actually saw an example of that when a child ran out of their house and flagged down a FedEx driver to make a disclosure. So I think, but we really target that essential facts training on those people that are first responders and are having that first access to children. So we don't teach it the same way to teachers because we don't want them interviewing kids, but they do get some outreach and education from us as well.
And do you provide follow-on services after, disclosures, et cetera, after the court system has worked its process?
So we offer it. We offer follow-up contact from our staff advocate who actually, you may know because she used to be one of the on-call medical examiners as well. Her name is Georgia Ecclestone, so she's fantastic. She's our advocate, so she does offer follow-up calls or contact, but predominantly those services happen through our partnership with Advocates of Ozaki or Ozaki County Human Services. So really what we want to do is make sure that we're not being duplicative with our efforts, that we're being efficient, and that we're getting families that comprehensive experience to make sure they get what they need for healing. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, Amanda, we thank you very much. It's great to put a face with a name. The chief speaks quite often of you and very fondly of you and your agency. So we're happy you attended tonight. And Chief, any other comments you'd like to make?
I just appreciate you being here. I appreciate what you do. And just so you know, I didn't put Amanda up to bring
Did
up
not.
about additional officers. But thank you.
Well, I didn't even know if that was, but it's relevant because I can't tell you how many times we have a case from a small jurisdiction, Neverport, and they're like, well, we can't send anyone. And we're like, well, we're doing this interview for a law enforcement investigation. How are we supposed to do it if I can't have an officer here? And I'm the daughter of a small town police chief, so I get it. But, I think like anything you can do to support them coming and being present for cases, it really makes a difference. And this last one we had that had several families involved, having the dedicated, diligent involvement of the officers involved, it made the difference. It really did. So he did not put me up to it at all.
It's a good message. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Have a good meeting.
Thanks.
Okay, then moving right along, let's talk about our next public appearance, which is Justin Powell from Fire Recovery USA. And Chief DeBoer, would you like to introduce Justin?
Yeah, I'll let Justin do most of his own introduction, but this is actually an agenda item that we're moving up from the Fire Chief's report, subletter D, discussion regarding the possible implementation of fire inspection fees and insurance billing for motor vehicle accidents. So I will let Justin take it away here, but largely kind of the point of this is to talk about ways to recover some of the fees that we're not currently recovering that other municipalities are for both calls for service and the time we spend doing fire inspections.
Great. Take it away, Justin.
All right, thank you. Let me share my screen here. Sorry, I'm working with two screens, so let me make sure I've got this shared correctly. You should be seeing my slideshow here.
Yes.
We can see it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me and taking a few minutes to allow me to present. I've worked with the fire chief for about a week and a half now, discussing our programs and bringing him up to speed on what fire recovery is. We are based out of Roseville, California, as our corporate office. My office is located in Des Moines, Iowa. I've lived and worked in Iowa for a good majority of my career. I'm still on one of the metro departments here in the Des Moines metro area. And our company specializes in cost recovery solutions for departments. We work with just over 2,000 departments in 43 different states. Currently, when I started with this company in 2013, we had about 200 customers. So in 12 years, we've grown from 200 to over 2,000 customers. And we specialize in specific cost recovery programs for fire departments. We used to be in the EMS space. That business was acquired a couple of years ago by a larger EMS billing company, but we kept the fire billing solutions as we are the nation's top cost recovery agency in the fire department space. I will just go through some high-level points here. I know there's going to be some questions regarding what we do and how we do this. So emergency response cost recovery is becoming somewhat of a norm in the fire department space. As you all are aware, there's significant cost in running a fire department. If you are not an ambulance transport agency, there's very little means where you are allowed to recover costs to responding to incidents. And like I said, cost recovery is becoming a new standard. Now, not everybody's doing it, but like I said, we've grown our business 1,000% since I started in the last 12 years. As you all probably are aware, municipalities are searching for new ways to avoid increasing, taxes and pushing those overall operations costs back to the taxpayers. One of the things that we've done is, especially on motor vehicle accidents, hazmat spills, things like that, we are taking the fire department's incident reports. They are submitting their billable claims to us, and we are invoicing the insurance companies of the people responsible for those incidents. So the at-fault parties of those emergencies, we are invoicing their insurance companies, whether it be the MedPay or the personal injury protection side of the insurance on those incidents. Most insurance policies do have some sort of coverage built into those policies. So you and I are paying insurance premiums, and there is coverage in a good majority of those policies for these such costs. What are the basis for cost recovery? You would have to pass an ordinance or a resolution to allow for this. It is covered again by most insurance policies, MedPay or the PIP coverage in those insurance policies. And if departments aren't billing for them, basically you're paying for something in your policy premiums that you're not getting if the insurance, if you're not billing for those, claims and collecting that insurance. So basically, by not billing, those premiums are being paid and being retained by the insurance companies. So like I said, you do have to pass an ordinance or a resolution. The department would need to sign a service agreement with us, basically giving us authority to bill for services on your behalf. Some of the things that we bill for are motor vehicle type incidents, so motor vehicle collisions, vehicle fires, structure fires, landing zones, hazmat responses. I know that you all have a pretty good stretch of interstate that is covered that you respond to for a lot of transient traffic, right? There's a lot of people going through your area that do not support the tax base. Not all of these things you would have to bill for. It's an a la carte type system where, hey, we're going to bill for these things, but we're not going to bill for some of these other things. The fire chief and I spoke about some of the, special rescues or landing zones or those types of things that the department really doesn't, there's not that many of them. And maybe none in a year, right? So is billing for those prudent and necessary? Maybe or maybe not. But we do have the ability to recover the costs for many of those services. Same thing with our fire inspections cost recovery. So we have a lot of agencies out there that are performing state mandated fire inspections or performing inspections on your business community where we have an engine company or a specific inspector that is going out and performing fire and life safety inspections on businesses, whether that be certificate of occupancy inspections or fire alarm testing or sprinkler certifications, or just annual fire inspections to make sure that the business community is adhering to local and international fire codes. Those are items that many of our fire departments are charging a fee for. What that fee is, you have to determine that. A lot of our departments are billing anywhere between, $50 and $150 for those fire inspections. Some departments do those annually. Some do them every 2 years or every 3 years, depending on the risk tolerance of the community and what the state statute says. I'll go back to the emergency incident side. At the scene of the incident, what does the fire department need to do? The fire department is responding to these incidents today. That doesn't change. That's just an operational standard for any fire department. The personnel are logging run data into their records management system, so completing their incident reports. Similar to, any police department, any fire department, you make contact with somebody, you're creating or you're writing an incident report. There's certain fields that are required to be entered into those records management systems. Narratives are required, those types of things. That data then, in turn, we have the ability to extract that data from your records management system, and it can pull into our system, and the fire chief or a designee would then go into our system and say, yeah, we want to bill this run, or this is not a billable incident. And that's based on policies and procedures you would set up. We do have a completely online based system where once that data is pulled from the records management system into our system, it is a very seamless process. It takes roughly 5 minutes to complete it once the systems are all set up. It takes roughly 5 minutes for someone to, after completion of their incident report, typically someone in an administrative level would log into our system, review those runs, and approve it for billing, or just delete that information from our system altogether. After we receive the run, so if the fire department, data is uploaded into our system, somebody on the administrative side of the fire department says, yes, we do want to bill this run. This is a billable run. They submit that run to us for billing. Our claims representatives take that information. We contact the insurance companies to determine the responsible party. We will work with that insurance company to create the invoice, submit the invoice on behalf of the fire department to the responsible party insurance company, track the responses, work with those adjusters all the way through the process to make sure that claim is paid if there is coverage. And if there's no coverage, there may be a liability decision where they've determined that this party is not responsible and they're not paying that invoice. That in turn then opens up the question, how do we want to handle those balances if there's no coverage on those insurance policies? And in many cases, departments are billing everybody's insurance, and if they're a resident, they would just write off any unpaid balances, or if there's no coverage, those balances would be written off. A good majority of our departments, if there are non-residents, again, any of that transient traffic that you're responding to, if they're a non-resident of your community and there's no coverage, or the insurance company says we're not paying this invoice, those people would then be billed directly. Again, that's a policy decision on your side as to whether or not how you work those unpaid balances. During the month, any of the dollars that we collect during that month then are held in a trust and an escrow account. At the end of each month, we clear those escrow accounts, and we would transfer those funds back to you, either back to the fire department or back to the city, or however that works. That money would then be transferred back to you each month. Our less our fee. We have a fee of 22%. We take 22% of everything that we collect. There's no upfront fees or any other hidden fees in our system. If we collect $10,000, we send you a check for $7,800 at the end of the month. Our system is completely transparent to the end user. So anything that we do in our system, any invoices we create, any telephone calls we make, any emails that we send are all logged in our billing portal. Those are all viewable to you, to the end user. There's no license fees. There's no limits to the number of users that have access to our system. It's all an online web-based portal. It's available 24/7, and you have real-time access to any of that information that we have in our system. And that's true for both the inspection side and the emergency incident billing. Like I said, the Recovery Hub is available 24/7. Again, it's just a website, therecoveryhub.com. We do have some of the highest collection rates in the industry. There are not too many other agencies, or I'm sorry, other companies that bill for services that we do. There've been a couple that have popped up over the last few years and have gone by the wayside fairly quickly. They just don't understand the labor that it takes to follow up on these invoices and work with the adjusters to determine liability and that sort of thing. We've been in business since 2006, so So we're finishing up our 19th year. We're entering our 20th year in this business. We have very good relationships with the insurance companies that we work with the adjusters, with the special investigative teams in these insurance companies to help determine liability. And we work with many of those insurance companies and have good working relationships. I don't know the exact numbers. I should have run this before the meeting, but I believe we probably have 60 to 70 departments in the state of Wisconsin. Chief, I can't remember if I supplied you those numbers or not. But of the 2,000 departments we have in total, probably 60 or 70 of those are located within the state of Wisconsin. With that, I'll turn it over for questions.
Commissioners, any questions?
Of course.
Jill?
Justin, thank you for your presentation. What is the average length of time it takes you to recover some of the billings?
Yeah, good question. So I provided a cost recovery forecast to the chief. I think we were looking at around 35,000 total of cost recovery per year based on the number of incidents the department has responded to in the last fiscal year. So when the program starts, obviously it's going to take some time to ramp up that revenue base, and it will take a little bit of time to realize that full potential. The last time we did this study, we averaged around 92 days from the time that we invoiced till the time that we submitted an invoice to an insurance company till the time it was paid. Now, there are many of those that are paid within the last 30 days. I had a report that I had to submit today for the South Milwaukee Fire Department, and they said, hey, we submitted a run and this run wasn't on our aging report. Well, it was paid within 14 days, so it never ended up on an aging report. So many of those runs are paid within 30 days. We do have some though on larger incidents or incidents where insurance companies are working to determine liability and subrogate against each other. Those can drag out 6 to 9 months or even further in some cases. So our average is about 90 days is the last time that we ran that study.
Thank you.
Joel, you have a question.
I do. I have 3 actually. Justin, yeah, thank you for the presentation. You mentioned you're the nation's top recovery company. What's as measured by what? 2,000 clients? Are there other measures in that?
Correct. It's just measured by the number of clients that we serve.
Okay.
There are some state specific companies out there. There's a company called PA Cost Recovery. There's another small agency in Southern California that does it. They're primarily working in LA County. There's some EMS billing companies that provide this type of service, but they're not specialized in that. They will provide it as an ancillary service to obtain an EMS contract.
Okay. And I think you answered this, but just to be clear, if a claim is written off or otherwise unpaid, do we still pay Fire Recovery USA?
You do not. Our fee only applies to dollars that we collect on your behalf.
Okay. And is your 22% fee comparable to your competition?
Well, that's tough to say because there's our biggest competition is probably the EMS billing accounts out there. And a lot of those will bid the fire billing and the EMS billing together only to get the fire billing agreements, only to get those EMS contracts. I do know there's an agency in Texas that charges 15%, but they only operate in the state of Texas. But they are also a large EMS billing company. So I would say, yes, we don't have a lot of competition that strictly works in the fire billing space. Our fee was 20% up until COVID. When we started the company in 2006, our fee was 20%. We operated at 20% for 15 years. Once COVID hit, our costs just increased. So we actually increased our rate to 22%, and we've held it at 22% since COVID. So we've only had one rate increase since we started the company.
Okay. And then just to underline this, I think I heard you correctly. The first step would be for the city to pass an ordinance for recovery cost services, correct?
Correct. And I've provided a sample ordinance and sample rates to Chief DeBoer. Most agencies that we work with are using nearly the exact ordinance that I provided. and probably 90 to 95% of them are using the exact rates that I provided within that ordinance that I sent to the fire chief.
Great, thank you.
Ed, do you have a question?
Yes, so are the recovery costs then on a schedule, or they cover actual costs, or what does that look like?
Yep. So the typical mitigation rates that I provided are what has been deemed usual and customary in the industry for providing those types of services.
Okay,
So I don't know if you've had the chance to review the sample ordinance or the rates that I provided the chief. I'm sure he'll distribute those probably later in this meeting or after the fact. But those rates are deemed usual and customary. Our average invoice is about $670. That's the average invoice that we're submitting to the insurance companies for a standard incident. Now, if you have a tractor trailer, fire out on the freeway and you're out there for 3 hours, digging cargo out of that, some of those can go $8,000 to $10,000 pretty easily.
so it's not a set fee if you're contemplating something that could go that high. That's not a scheduled fee then.
There are different levels of fees based on the level of service the fire department provides at an incident.
Okay. Do you handle the billing then for the fire inspections as well?
Yes, we do.
Okay, very good. If somebody doesn't pay, they don't have insurance, they don't pay, it's then left up to the city to decide if they want to pursue them, I assume, civilly in court. Is that accurate?
Yeah, our recommendation is that you would create a policy, and as part of the onboarding process, we ask how you want those accounts handled. So if an insurance company does not pay, do we want to bill that individual directly? And the answer can be different if they're a resident versus a non-resident. And many communities elect not to bill their residents directly if they don't have insurance or coverage, and elect to bill their non-residents directly. If those payments after the fact are not paid, you would either have a policy in place that says we want to go after those people. We do have a national collection agency that we work with. So we could turn those accounts over to collections if you chose, or we could send all the details of that back over to the city. You could choose to pursue that in any manner you like. If we turn it back over to the city, we wash our hands of it and our fees don't apply.
Very good. I assume if it's turned over to collections, the fee jumps from 22%?
It jumps from 22% to about 55%.
Okay, but if it goes back to the city and the city pursues and eventually gets a judgment and it gets paid, you then don't get anything because the city had the laboring oar on that.
That's correct. If we're unable to collect it and we turn it back over to you, we're out of it altogether.
Very good, thank you.
Joe, one more question.
One more, Justin. This may not be fair. It's kind of in the weeds, but just based on your experience, are you aware of any fire departments that have this cost recovery earmarked to go right back into their budgets, or is it always general fund back to the municipality?
That's difficult for me to know. We will typically provide account reconciliations of payments back to the city. Where it goes from there, I don't really know.
Okay.
I assume there probably are departments that have this set up to go directly back to their funding. I would say a good majority of these agencies, it does probably go back to the general fund.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you.
But again, I'm not sure, from a city management perspective,
Right.
Once we send the payment, I'm not sure how those funds are allocated.
Got it.
Okay, no further questions? Justin, thanks again for your presentation, and I'm sure the chief will give his presentation later in our meeting, and it looks good to me, and hopefully we can move ahead with it.
All right. Thank you all for your time. And Chief, if you have any questions or something comes up during your presentation tonight, feel free to text me and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible.
Will do, sir. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, so we can move along then.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Are we going to address the option to pass a motion around this when it comes up on the agenda later?
Under D, under the fire chief's.
Thank you.
Yes, okay. Okay, Next, number 3, Chairman's comments. So as you may recall, during the summer, we asked Joe Dean and Commissioner Johnson to review the fire department and the police department's 2026 budgets. And if you have a quick update on that, gentlemen? Ed, you want to go first?
Sure. We met with each chief and went over their budget history as well as budget forecast, and had a very good dialogue and understanding of what their needs are, and we endorsed what they're putting forward. But it was a good, productive meeting. It was good to learn more about the process. I think it's helpful that the commission, that we're aware, and then we're able to give some input as to what they're seeking, and promotes better understanding.
Okay.
I would just echo those comments. Thanks to both chiefs. They were very well prepared. Thanks to your teams as well. I know they help you with preparing the budgets. And then we understood current needs and also asked for some future needs. And I know, Jim, that you had an opportunity to share that with the city, with the aldermen, and especially ahead of this September 16th budget meeting. We thought that was critical. And then the chiefs, of course, have their internal staff meetings coming up. So,
Okay, wonderful. Thanks to both of you for taking the extra time to make those meetings and reviews, and I'm sure we'll continue this again next year.
Can we go back to number 3?
Sure.
I do have, or excuse me, I mean number 2, public comments or
Oh, sure.
correspondence.
Yep.
I guess I just wanted to share with the commission, one of my records clerks had received a phone call from the mother of a person that our officers had to deal with. And basically, I'll just summarize what the records clerk said. She said for about 11 minutes, she had very high praise for the officers, which were Officer Chris Erickson and Lieutenant Jerry Nye. The incident involved a woman that was suicidal and had a gun, and they were able to, with their training and compassion, they were able to, I guess, basically talk her down, and she was able to get the help that she needed. And this mother was very, very appreciative.
It's always good to hear. Thank you for that correspondence, and thank you to the officers for a job well done. Okay, anything else, Chief? No?
No, that's it under there. Yeah.
Okay, then let's move on to number 4, review of previous meeting minutes, and we have 2 to review. First one is the Monday, August 11th PFC meeting. Is there any corrections or items to note there? No? Okay. And the other special meeting was the interview process on September 3rd. And anything to note there? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, then it's always the fun job I have here is to recognize service anniversaries for this month. And in the police department, we have Lieutenant Jerry Nye at 23 years of service. Steve Orvis, 7 years. Annie Bielzik has 18 years of service. And Tammy Shepard has 33 years of service. And then on the fire department side, firefighter paramedic Dylan Dodson, 4 years of service. Administrative assistant Amanda Ibes, 4 years of service. Firefighter Ricky Gilson is 1 year of service. Lieutenant Charlie Leesom has 13 years of service. And Deputy Chief Tom Charbonneau has 43 years of service. Is he your longest serving member, Chief?
I believe Assistant Chief Schmidt has him beat.
Oh, okay. 43 years is still quite a tenure.
Not by much, but Steve won't let him forget that. So.
Okay, wonderful. That's great. Okay, so of course, the PFC recognizes all those individuals and thanks them for their service to our community. Okay, then, next on the agenda is the Police Department reports, and we'll start with review of the August bills.
I was wondering if the commission would be okay if we skip down to 4B so that Captain Zarnecki could do the report on that and he could head home.
Yeah, it's Monday Night Football.
Are you a
we
Bears
understand
fan
that.
or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bears
or Vikings? Good
Okay,
man.
good.
I knew I liked you. That's the right answer.
Okay, so 4B was 2026 budget request for 3 new officer positions in the police department, and we'd like to hear all about that.
Yeah, okay, well, first off, thanks for putting me first so I can. Amanda mentioned getting more officers. You can add that into that report that I did. So I've got this report that I had already sent to you, and I'll try to summarize that as quickly as possible. Essentially, we're requesting to increase our patrol staff by 3 patrol officers in 2026, which would bring our total staffing up to 23 officers. The police department understands that budgets are tight. If you look at the study that I did, the staffing study, the results show that a need for 13 additional officers by the numbers that we have. We're asking for 3 additional officers to bring us to a reasonable number of officers per resident ratio and to bring us more in line with other area communities. So I'll do some of the simple math first. The FBI's recommendation is 2.4 officers per 1,000 residents, and the state of Wisconsin's recommendation is 2.3 officers per 1,000 residents. So essentially, you divide the number of officers we have by the number of residents. I used 13,000 because that's our approximate population now. That number puts us at 1.53 officers per 1,000 residents, which is quite a bit below both FBI and state recommendations. Our current staffing level is 20 full-time officers, with 16 of those officers being assigned to the patrol division, made up of 3 lieutenants and 13 patrol officers. The other 4 staff that we have that's sworn consists of the chief, myself, and 1 detective and 1 school resource officer. All of us do little, if any, patrol, the 4 of us. Our current staffing level is an 8-officer minimum over a 24-hour period, which breaks down to 2 officers on day shift, 2 on second shift, 2 on third shift, and 2 officers working a power shift. Those power shifts cover first and second shift, and then second and third shift. That, if we're at minimum staffing, that requires that only 2 officers are on duty from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. for a city of approximately 13,000 people, which we feel is very low, A, and B, could be a officer safety issue. The other issue we have is if you have, between those hours, one of those officers gets tied up in a more time-consuming type of call, say an OWI arrest or a mental health type of thing, that officer could be tied up for a significant period of time, leaving only 1 officer, or possibly none, if both of them are tied up on that call for the city during those times, or a portion of that time. With younger officers, we've seen a shift in their priorities as to how they receive their overtime compensation. The new generation of officers, and this is industry-wide, prefer to earn comp time versus overtime pay, which gives them an hour and a half of time off for every hour that they work. When we are operating at minimum staffing and need to call in extra officers because maybe they're caught up on one of these calls that I just discussed, they earn comp time that they will use to take off later, which brings the schedule back to minimums a lot of times. And it ends up being a cycle that we just keep getting into where we're at staff minimums because of that. being at staff minimums also leads to staff burnout when we're there a lot of the time. Port Washington's experiencing significant changes that include new residential growth, coupled with substantial new public and private investments in downtown redevelopment, as well as the data center. The possibility that there will be significant ancillary business and residential growth on the north side tied to the development of that data center that could be significant, and it's present in our minds. If that does happen, we're going to be playing catch up, which even more so than we already are. The last time the police department requested, actually that should be acquired, an additional officer was 2015. At the time, our backfill overtime was averaging about 176 hours of overtime in the year, compared to 422 last year. And minimum staffing days were averaging 134 days per year versus approximately 200 currently. The population was approximately 2,000 people less than now, and the total numbers of call for the year were lower. In 2000, our ratio of sworn officers to resident population was 1.84 per 1,000, with one less officer than we have now. Because of the population increase, that number has gone down, even though we've added an officer. If we assume that the current city population, again, is 13,000 residents, our current ratio of 1.53 officers per 1,000 residents is the ratio. If the population of the city continues to grow as anticipated within the next 5 years, if we don't add any officers, that ratio would drop to 1.3 officers per 1,000 or even lower. I'll get into the math of the staffing study. This is based on methodology from the Northwestern University School of Staff and Command. Anticipated growth in the housing and commercial development prompted the Port Washington Police Department to examine the appropriateness of its staffing and structure to identify current and future opportunities for improvement. It's a complex process with several challenges, especially if you don't like math like me, because there was a lot of math in this. And I got to tell you, there were times where I was sitting at my desk going, what is this math saying? But I followed the methodology from Northwestern. As I said, the traditional approach would simply use a ratio of one officer per 1,000 residents. I compared a number of jurisdictions. I'm going to hit the ones that are comparable in Ozaukee County. Grafton has a population of 12,094. They have 23 officers, and that puts their ratio of officers to 1,000 residents at 1.9. Cedarburg has 12,765. They have 24 officers, which puts their ratio at 1.88. And then you have Port Washington at 13,007 for a population with 20 officers. Our ratio is 1.53. We are the lowest of approximately 12 different jurisdictions that I looked at here that are of comparable size to us. So when I figured this out, I tried to figure out, I was trying to account for the officer's workload. The way I did that was I pulled from our computer-based records management system, which is ProPhoenix. The records management system captures each activity officers perform along with important dates and times, including dispatch times, arrival times, cleared times, and the total time that an officer is out on the call. So for every officer that goes out on a call, it captures that amount of time. If another officer is with them, it captures that amount of time. It captures the amount of time that they're obligated. Where we don't capture this time is in follow-up, if they're coming in doing reports or something. If they're not calling out on those calls that they're actually in the office working on the reports for those calls, we lose that time. So this is a snapshot. It's not completely accurate, but it does account for the amount of time that the officers are called out that they're busy to dispatch. It doesn't account for when they're coming in and doing paperwork and stuff necessarily all the time on those calls. So in looking at that total amount of time needed, I looked at the number of calls and the amount of time that was taken. In 2022, we had 16,854 calls. In 23, that went up to 20,344. And in 24, we had 19,832. So over the 3 years, we averaged 19,000, just a little over 19,000 calls per year. The average obligated time per year, that is the time that the officers were called out, was 30,816 hours. The average time then per call is about 97 minutes. When I did this, I tried to look at calls that were self-initiated. So I took out the time that they were out on traffic stops. I took out the time that they were doing business checks or home checks, or some of the other calls that they would self-initiate. Just what I tried to do was look at the calls that they were just dispatched to, because that's what I'm trying to capture, because I want to figure out obligated and unobligated time. What we want to try to do is get to a ratio of just as much unobligated time as we have obligated time. So if you have 30 minutes of time where you are obligated on calls per hour in a shift, we want 30 minutes of time in that hour. So it's a ratio that's even, where you're unobligated to do proactive things. That includes being visible, improving the quality of police service, establishing and maintaining relationships with the community, ensuring safe roadways, reducing officer burnout, attending mandated training, enabling spontaneous training, allowing time for follow-ups, providing officer breaks, other things. So based on our obligated time, 30,816 hours. If we want the same amount of unobligated time, that's 60. We have to account for 61,632 hours in a year. The next thing I got to do is I got to figure out the shift relief formula, which is a lot of math, but essentially what it boils down to is I got to figure out how much time guys have off during the year and how much time we can actually have officers filling shifts and filling this time requirement. The average time off per officer per year is 150 days. That includes their regular scheduled time off, benefit time off between comp time and vacation time. And by that, I went through schedules and I figured out how many days they were actually off on comp time and stuff like that. Non-patrol time, which would be like mandated training, and we have to do at least 24 hours of that to keep our certification, but the department tries to send officers to more training than what is the minimum required. That makes them better officers, and it makes it better for the community. When I add all that up, that averages out to 150 days per year. Doing some math, by the formulas that are given, our shift relief factor ends up being 1.6. When we multiply that and use the formula of our shift relief factor times the total obligated and unobligated time, the numbers came out to what it said was we should have 33 officers. When I first saw that, I thought, that's crazy. I must have messed up the math here, because that's so far above what we have. But then when I plugged it into the simple math, doing the ratio, it falls right in line with what the FBI and the state say we should have. So then I thought, okay, maybe not so crazy. 33 officers is what it's saying that we should have. That would be 13 more. I know that's a huge money commitment. And so, like I said, we decide, knowing the budgets are tight, we asked for 3, because that will bring us up to 1.7 officers per 1,000 residents, which will put us more in line with most of the communities that we took a look at as far as that ratio go. That's where we came up with that number. It was a lot to digest. If you looked at the report and looked at the math and it made your eyes kind of tired, I get it. But that's it in a nutshell. I'll take any questions you got.
Commissioners? Joe?
Yes. Captain Zarnecki, thank you. It's an excellent report. I saw it as part of the budget process and working with the chief and with you, so thank you. Lots of detail. Really, 97 minutes is the average call time?
That's what it works out to, which seems, when I looked at it, I thought, okay, well, we could have a fraud complaint that they're doing literally days.
Or mental health takes all night long?
Mental health,
Yeah.
those calls have gone from taking several hours to literally spanning over 3 shifts in some cases because of being stuck at the hospital for that length of time while they're trying to find a bed or trying to, get communication with wherever the patient has to go, whatever it happens to be. Those are taking a tremendous amount of time. So yeah, a traffic stop, typical traffic stop, a few minutes. OWI, quite a bit long, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. But these mental health things and the frauds, when they go that amount of time, it really brings that number up.
Okay.
And it all has to be investigated. Like I said, that doesn't even really include, I don't think I'm capturing well, because as much as we ask the officers, if you're calling out doing paperwork, put yourself out on that call. It just doesn't happen enough.
Yeah.
They still aren't real good about doing that. They call 10-6 at the station and they do the paperwork. And even that's not getting captured in there.
So the 3 new officers, the math was going quickly. Your goal would be 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off on average of obligated versus unobligated. I think that's great.
Not off per se, but giving them the
Unobligated.
opportunity to not be on a call. So
Community
that they-
policing stuff, proactive, right?
Right, so that the residents are seeing them traveling through their neighborhoods.
Right.
They're able to make, like I said, those positive contacts with people, whether it's just stopping and talking with them or answering questions, whatever it happens to be.
Prevention, yeah.
Right. Doing the business checks and the home checks that we do
Oh,
for
yeah.
people on vacation, all those kind of things. I took those out of the time because those are proactive kind of things, and that's the way I looked at them.
Okay, and with 3 officers, how much closer do you get to that goal of obligated, unobligated? Did you do that?
Well,
math?
that I didn't figure out, and I really don't want to.
But it moves us in the right
It
direction.
moves us in the right direction, and like I said, it would free us up to do a little bit more. Like I said, that 13 additional officers fills that time. So it doesn't get us there, doesn't get us really as close as what we'd like to be. But the 3 additional officers does get us at least more in line with where the other departments are in the area.
Okay, and where are you in the budget process I know where we are, our relationship with the city and the meetings and where
That would be a question for the chief because he handles that stuff primarily.
It was given to the city administrator, and exactly where we stand with that, I don't know at this point.
you don't know yet? Okay, all right. Final budgets are approved in October, right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Final budgets are approved in October. September 16th is the budget hearing meeting, and then it's about 2 weeks later that it gets approved?
Yeah, I think or is it November?
The budget reviews will be September 22nd, 23rd.
Okay,
They're all-day meetings.
okay,
And then they'll come to the council, I think, the second meeting in October.
okay.
And then the vote would be at the first meeting in November.
November 1. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
Captain, just I'd like to get you to speak to overtime and what that does for morale. It sounds like some of these officers have a ton of overtime.
Some of the officers do. Part of that problem is that when we're at minimum staffing, if anybody calls in sick, that's going to create overtime. And in the summertime, there's a lot of vacation being taken. It's the least desirable time to get stuck working overtime. There's more festivals. There's more things that we need to do to fill overtime shifts. So they do work quite a bit. Now, to their credit, I don't hear them complain too much, but until they age a little bit, and maybe not, I don't know where the younger people's minds are necessarily, but as you get a little bit older and you start to have kids, then you realize, no, I want this money more so than I want the time off because I got this and this and that to pay for. But at this point with our younger officers, they don't have those obligations, so they want that time off. And then the more time off they take, the more it puts us short-staffed. And the more short-staffed we are, there's a correlation between the more sick time that gets taken, because if you can't get the days off that you want, then lo and behold, we start to have more sick days being taken. Or it's just that they're working so many hours that they need to take a mental health day and take a day off. So then that puts us back in this bind of being understaffed. There's a lot of things that play into this, but the bottom line is we need more staffing than what we have at this point.
Sure. The other question would be, so you're asking for 3 officers. If you were given 1 or 2, does that help at all, or is 3 the minimum?
Anything would help. We asked for 3, hoping to get 3. If we can get 1, we'll be very happy with that. I think we're hoping that with the addition of the data center and some more tax money, I did reach out in trying to figure out where that would fit into us needing more officers to a couple communities that have these large data centers. Ironically, both of the communities that I talked to and were able to get good information from are both smaller than us. One has 11 more officers than us. One has 1 officer more, but is a city of only about 7,000 to 8,000 people. So it has 5,000 less people, but it actually has 1 more officer.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that trend continues here, that we can get more personnel with that increased tax base. Because that would be extremely helpful for us.
And my final question is, so what is the budget implication with 3 additional officers for pay and benefits? Do you have a number on that? Or Joe, do you recall what?
It's in the report. It's in the request.
I don't know those numbers offhand. I think starting pay for an officer is about, I guess about 70,
68,000?
68. And then I think you tack on an extra 40% for benefits. So whatever that math works out to, times 3. So plus, right. Well, it would save a little overtime theoretically, but then we'll also have to equip those officers. So now we're talking uniforms, guns, rain gear. I mean, whatever it happens to be, we got to equip them too. So.
Okay. Chief, did you have any additional comments you'd like to make?
I guess one of the other things, when the captain was looking at the other jurisdictions in the county and whatnot, and really our numbers as far as calls that we're involved in responding to is significantly more. And so I think there's that aspect to keep in mind. And then the other part too is the obligated and unobligated time. And it really, really is important to keep officers out on the road where people can see them, because it really is a crime prevention method. When people see the squads driving or park somewhere or whatever, they see a squad car around, they're less likely to do anything. So I think it's important to keep that up, and the more obligated time we have, the less that happens, obviously.
Okay. Well, Captain Zarnecki, we certainly appreciate your time that you've taken to attend tonight, and it's kind of an eye-opener for me as far as the numbers. So I know those individuals on our commission here that were involved with the budget process endorse your plan, so we're hoping it moves forward.
Thank you very much.
And starting pay for an officer is about $70,000, and I believe with benefits, I want to say benefits, I think is around 50% actually.
Okay, thank you.
All good?
Thank you.
All right, have a good night.
Okay, so now we can move along to review and discussion of police department invoices for the month of August. And Anything that jumps out at you there, Chief?
There is not.
Okay, commissioners, anything? No? Okay, let's move on to municipal court statement, and anything there, Chief, that concerns you?
No concerns there either.
Commissioners have any questions? Okay, hearing none. Calls for service. Any questions there with calls for service? No. Just one question I have for you, Chief. Car versus deer. It looks like the deer are losing.
They usually do.
Yeah, with the urbanized deer we have, they're almost tame. I'm surprised anybody can hit them. They're so. I watch them look both ways before they cross the street.
Well, I know, I think 1 or 2 were fawns, so.
Yeah, which were sleeping in my garage the other day. All right.
I guess I have a question. What is training of two on there? If it's a call for service?
Sometimes what that can be is if the officers, a lot of this is generated by their CAD and what they enter. And sometimes some officers do this, some don't. Again, it's not always, everything's not always tracked. But like if an officer stops in the station and let's say he's going to work with the lieutenant on some training in the garage or whatnot, and so he may put himself out at training.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Then we can move along to Wisconsin incident-based report for this is, the last report is July. And any questions there? Just a question, Chief, on drugs, narcotic offenses seemed to be a spike this last month. Is that any reason for that, or it just happens to come that way?
It just happens to come that way. I mean, obviously, I think I'd have to look back, but I think that always pretty much goes up in summer. Obviously, people aren't in buildings or whatnot a lot of times with the drugs and so.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other questions? No, hearing none. Okay, then we can move along to the chief's report.
All right. I have a request for secondary employment. This is Officer Colin Dunn. And again, this is with the Fredonia Marshal's Office. And I have no issues with him working there.
Okay.
And again, his first obligation is to the Port Washington Police Department, and he knows that. And yeah.
Okay. Does that require a vote on our part or just a notification?
Trying to think how we did that just last month with Officer Wolf. I think you.
There was a motion? Okay.
Can I have a question for?
Yes. Go ahead, Joe.
Same question I think I've had in the past. Chief, refresh my memory if you would. What happens if he gets hurt on the job in Fredonia? I mean, obviously, we may lose his service for a while he recuperates, but are we compensated? Is that just a chance we take? Do they pay his medical bills?
Microphone.
Okay, and then Fredonia pays his workers' comp, obviously.
Chief, have you ever had experiences with injuries in other locations? Your microphone.
No, we have not. Really, the amount of hours they work in Fredonia is very minimal. And I guess too, for the most part, what they handle in Fredonia is just some traffic, nuisance calls, anything major. The way it's set up there is the Fredonia has the Sheriff's Department handle any major calls.
Good to know. Okay, is there a motion to accept that request for secondary employment?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any additional comments, questions? No? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes. Okay, and then B was all entertained in Captain Zarnecki's report, so that's great. Anything else for us tonight, Chief?
The last thing I have, I guess, is just a reminder that starting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., we have our reaccreditation starting. And the reaccreditors will be here tomorrow, Wednesday, and probably Thursday morning.
Okay, good. And is there still an opportunity for a general public to have comments, or is that?
There is, and it's online. I don't have the phone number you're supposed to call and the hours with me, but it is online on our Facebook page.
Wonderful.
And so if you'd like to call in, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, anything else from your department? All right, good. Okay, then we can move over to the fire department, and let's look at EMS invoices for August. Any questions there or concerns, Chief?
Just getting some preventative maintenance stuff out of the way. We are due for our biannual state ambulance inspections on September 16th. So we had a couple of things to take care of there. So, and then under the supplies, you'll see EMS bags for fire apparatus. This is a project that one of our full-time staff members championed. We, all of our fire apparatus, the heavy pieces, have a EMS bag in them. Those bags are quite old, hadn't been gone through for a while, and have a lot of material in them that probably isn't necessary and expires. So we completely reconfigured that and hopefully prevent some waste in the future. But we found some expired stuff that probably is old enough to drive, so.
Okay, good. Commissioners, any questions there? No? Okay. Let's move on to the fire invoices for August. Any concerns there, Chief?
Nothing super fun or exciting to report. You will see occasionally under the gasoline account, we'll have it'll get paid out to a member. That's because we go up to Random Lake where they have ethanol-free gas for our boats, or at least the small boat. Because the motor in there is a little finicky and doesn't like the ethanol added gas. So we go and fill up a canister every few months. So if you're ever curious why that's getting paid out that way.
Okay, good to know. Okay. All right, no further questions there. Let's move on to EMS calls.
So another busy month, 149 calls, down just a little bit from 160. Again, that was a record previous month. About an 80-20 mix on transport versus non-transports. And about 9 intercepts, again, as Fredonia is going through the same staffing issues that we've had in the past. We're up there a little bit more than we had been before. As of the year, we've had 1,070 EMS runs already. And our response times continue to be quite healthy. We're just hovering for calls in the city just above 8 or 6 minutes, which is great.
Any questions, commissioners? No? That report is getting thicker and thicker, and now it's two-sided. All right, and then we can move on to fire calls for August.
I think I've said this multiple months in a row, but busiest month on record. This month, last month was the record at 42. This month was 45. That said, a lot of those, 10 of those occurred in the city of Milwaukee. On the 10th, during the flooding, our engine was requested as part of a mutual aid task force to respond to the city of Milwaukee. So they handled 10 calls for service while they were down in the city. A lot of lines down, but they had some flood assessment calls. They actually building or structural collapse call that they responded to. So It was a crazy night, both here and down there, but we were able to handle everything that they threw at us.
And it looks like 4 firefighters responded with the
Yep,
apparatus?
we sent a crew of 4 down to Milwaukee. All of them, one of them was an off-duty full-time member. The rest of them were paid on call, so we didn't jeopardize any of our full-time staffing,
Great.
our ambulance staffing here in the city when we were doing that.
Okay, good to know. And mutual aid request, just one, it looks like, right?
Just one, again, we've talked about this with some folks out on vacation and medical leave. We're a little bit short on one of the shifts, and that's where it caught us, so.
Okay. Okay, we can move right along then to the fire chief's report.
Okay, so let's go through.
Oh, I'm sorry, number 5. This is to take action on matters discussed in closed session at September 3rd meeting, to wit, to consideration of hiring a candidate for the position of firefighter paramedic. I can mention that we did interview one individual. The second individual did not show. And Chief, any further information?
No further information on that, but I think based on our interview, we would like to proceed with hiring the candidate that we did interview.
Okay. And McKenna's name again is?
Typically, we don't put that in the motion.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, is there a motion to hire the firefighter, the one firefighter candidate?
Absolutely. So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
She was great.
Any other discussion?
Nice job, Chief.
Yeah,
Hearing-
we're excited to have her on board, and we'll officially announce that after, if, I'm assuming she plans to accept the offer, but after that's all wrapped up.
So all in favor of hiring?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, move ahead on that. Now we can have the chief's report.
All right. So we had one of our paid on call members, Kurt Elmauer, who is an engineer, resign. Kurt stepping back, he's going back to school while he's working full time, so just doesn't quite have the availability to commit. Kurt was one of those guys that was always around, and I think he quickly realized that he wanted to give 100%, or it's hard to give half effort in this kind of field. So he plans to come back once he's done with his schooling, but it's probably going to be about 2 years yet. So thought it was right for him to step away. In his time with us, he served as a firefighter, engineer, and he was also the secretary of our association. And I don't know if you guys were aware of this, but him and his son Tommy, who is now an Eagle Scout, built a bailout prop for us as part of his Eagle Scout project that's in the station. So we'll miss Kurt.
Great.
We did bring on board a new EMT. His name is James Valentino. He comes to us after serving in the Marine Corps. He is a brand new EMT and went right from EMT class to paramedic class. He's about halfway, a little bit more than that, through the paramedic program at LTC. So he's coming on board as an EMT for the short term and will likely go through paramedic orientation with us after he's done with that. He plans to pursue Fire One after finishing his paramedic certification with a goal of working as a full-time firefighter paramedic at some point. So he did his first shift with us last week, so we're excited to have him.
Great.
With the resignation of Kurt Elmauer, like I previously mentioned, that gives us some vacant engineer positions. We had some that were already unfilled as it was. So I'd like to plan to run a promotional process for that this month. The plan will be that they'll have to have a minimum requirement of firefighter 2, driver operator, and aerial within 6 months, meaning they'll need aerial within 6 months. The other 2 they'll have to have at the time of application. We plan to do an internal interview, spare you guys some additional interview time, and then a written and practical exam based off of the state driver operator test. The plan would be to bring back 2 candidates to fill 2 positions to you guys for approval next month.
Does that require our authorization? I don't, I don't know
I
if it
think
does,
promotions require approval from you.
even on part-time employees.
Yeah, well, gray area, but traditionally that's how we've done it, so.
Okay, let's do it
continue
that way.
Going down that road.
Right.
Okay, I think you guys, we had the presentation from Fire Recovery USA with Justin a little bit earlier. A couple of things I just wanted to highlight there. We're in the very preliminary stages of kind of investigating this process, but I wanted to get you guys involved early on, because if it was a non-starter for you, I don't want to spend the council's, the city administrator's, city attorney, and GGF's time. But I really think this is a good program for us to look for ways to recover some of our operational and staffing costs. You know, we're not looking to tack on additional fees to our residents. It's to collect insurance funds that already exist as part of the policy for the most part. So this is money that essentially we've been leaving on the table, and I think a lot of departments are starting to kind of get wise to that. That there's a carve out for this funding. You mentioned, you know, in the forecast, potentially up to $30,000 worth of recovery per year, depending on call volume, call type, so on and so forth. There's a lot of variables there, but that gives us kind of a ballpark to start. And we've been working through kind of what the inspection fee schedule looks like. This is not something that's new to Ozaukee County. Both Cedarburg and Ozaukee Central have inspection fees. The city of Cedarburg bills out, like they have somebody licking envelopes or licking stamps in City Hall to do that, but I don't think we have the bandwidth to do that here. The fees for inspections, or how they bill for inspections, are different than the cost for call recovery, because there's not as much time or effort that they put into that. Essentially, I believe it's like a $19 flat fee that they do it, and then they handle all of the mailing, all the follow-up. They're able to go into our system and pull all of the data, so there's nothing that our staff has to do on the back end. They're able to just get all of the data and process that.
And when you say $19, that's a one time
Once
a
a
year?
year, yeah.
Once a year, right?
That's the fee that the company charges us, and then we can set whatever we want our inspection schedule to be.
Okay,
You know, I think largely what typically happens in most communities, and I think we need to parse this out with the council and GGF, is that the inspection fees are largely based on square footage.
sure.
You know, they're minimal for our smaller businesses, if any. Some places, I think it's usually about 5,000 foot. If it's less than 5,000 square feet, they don't charge anything for that process. But we're talking for the inspections of a school or a power plant or other bigger facilities that take hours sometimes to do.
Sure.
And take somebody out of the ability to respond to calls, those type of things, to help recover some of those costs. It doesn't recover all of them, but I think it's a good way for us to start trying to, again, recover some of those operational and staffing costs, and
Sure.
you know, a similar budget situation that the police department described earlier. If you guys have any questions or additional questions, I will try my best to answer them.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Joe, go ahead.
I think, as Justin said, the first step is an ordinance, and I'm prepared to offer a motion to that effect.
I don't think we can do that.
Is it on the agenda as just information?
It says discussion of.
Yeah, so,
We can come back and add that as we work through that, as long as we know that there's support from the PFC about moving forward with this. It was more to get the support from the PFC, and if we need we can discuss with City Hall if we need that, or if that's something we just need to go through. But knowing that they have your support is usually the first question.
And I'll do it this way. My motion would have been to encourage the city council to work with Chief DeBauer and pass an ordinance for emergency response cost recovery services. We're not naming any particular vendor. You've got all the details. You could work with the team to do that. But at our next meeting, or when it's appropriate, based on the wording of the agenda, it would be a motion similar to that. So if you want,
I think we're all good with that.
we just want to do it as encourage the
Thumbs up?
council.
Yeah, and I didn't want to like put it on the agenda as a motion right away without you guys seeing the presentation,
Yeah.
hearing about it, having some time to ponder. But this gives us a little bit of a head start to start meeting with GGF and the city.
That's fair. I had
All
time to
teams.
ponder.
Yeah,
I was a little-
absolutely.
I was involved in the first one, so I had some more time. Okay.
Yeah, and I think I'd feel more comfortable too, having exact fees, that all laid out for us.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. I
we
figured
know
that
what
would
we're
be the
getting into.
case. I didn't want to.
Time is literally money in this case, and we need every dollar we can get.
Yeah, I think this is a realistic goal to have up and running January 1 of 26, assuming that City Hall has the bandwidth to do those things.
I also want to congratulate the chief on bringing this forward. It's, he's looking for opportunities, and this is a good opportunity. Okay, moving along.
Okay, I believe the last thing, nope, two more things, sorry, make it quick. Fire Prevention Week is the first week of October. I won't see you guys until then, so I wanted to put out a plug. Our open house will be Saturday, October 4th, from 11 to 2. Hard to believe, but hopefully it's the last open house in the current building. It will be held in conjunction with the Community Street Festival. That's on that day. We got a lot of good foot traffic from that last year. So thought that it would be a wise thing to do it again this year. The week following is the official Fire Prevention Week, and we'll be doing our typical elementary school visits with first and third graders at St. John's, Dunwoody, and Lincoln. So we're working on planning that with the schools as we speak. If anybody has any questions, we're really excited for an open house and a new facility the next year. We've already started talking about things and ideas when we have all the space and time to do that, but yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, and speaking of the new public safety building, just a quick update there. Are you guys getting the update from Rob Vandenhoven about, okay. I'll make sure you guys get added to that list, but they've been sending out weekly updates on the public safety building. Whether they're helpful or not, but at least kind of gives you an idea of where they're at in the process and lost days, so on and so forth. Right now, they're continuing to block the walls in the A and B sections. It's actually broken down into 3 sections. A is primarily the police department. B is the common area, the training room essentially, and the fire department administrative section. And C is the actual apparatus bay. So blocking of A and B continues. They just started on C at the end of last week. So you're starting to see a little bit of the hose tower get put together. There's structural steel up in the A and B section, and hopefully that'll be soon moving over to the C section. And, from a working group standpoint, we continue to work on interior finishes, selections, down to how the doors are keyed. So there's a lot of minutia that we're trying to sort through right now to hopefully make sure we don't miss anything.
Still on schedule, Joe?
Yeah, still on schedule, if not a little bit ahead of schedule. We've been lucky with the weather. I think they've had a day of missed work, about day and a half of missed work total throughout the course of the project. So
Great.
I just wanted to throw this out there if anybody's interested.
Your mic?
Oh, sorry.
Your mic?
Oh, sorry. Oh, I didn't remember turning it off. Okay. So on Friday the 12th, so this Friday, we are going to be hosting a demo of an underwater handheld sonar unit. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, it's not something that we have budgeted for, but might be something that we pursue grants for in the future. But we wanted to really get our hands on it and play with it before we decide to dedicate time to potentially writing a grant, those type of things. So it looks like a really cool unit. The YouTube videos look cool, but I don't trust many things on YouTube, but potentially it, is a handheld unit, a little bit smaller than a computer that potentially can see about 35 feet underwater for identification.
Time and location of that?
We'll meet at the firehouse and likely go down to South Beach. So if anybody is interested, this Friday, yep,
And time of day?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Okay, great. Sounds like fun. Okay, anything else on your agenda?
That's all I got.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, we went over the budget stuff earlier today. I wanted to mention, the fire chief has similar challenges in a really difficult budget time with City Hall, similar staffing challenges. And he's currently working that through internal meetings and so on, but I just want to be sure we're kind of planting that flag, that we continue to work through that and ask him to keep us posted on it.
Okay, good. Okay, any other comments
I was gonna ask, I guess, as far as the new building, would the PFC want us to try and arrange a tour?
Is it too early at this point, do you think, or?
Like mud on your shoes.
We can get tours through, small, limited tours.
Yeah.
He's on vacation till Thursday, so.
Yeah, I mean, if interested, we could look into the future for a tour. When we took one, I don't know, how long ago was that, Chief? A couple weeks ago? Yeah, I thought it was very interesting, and actually we made a couple of little minor changes and didn't cost anything.
Sure. Commissioners, you want to do that perhaps next month, in October?
For sure.
If we could arrange something, I'm sure that'd be interesting. Sounds good. Okay, so I see our next meeting, monthly meeting is October 13th, so put that on your calendars. And any other comments?
I will be gone on the 13th, so I'll work with you to see if we need to reschedule or if it's okay to miss that one. I hate to miss
Okay.
it this close to budget time, so maybe the rest of the team would be willing to meet on the
I know,
6th.
I know Sarah is also on vacation that day too, so we may try to reschedule then in that case, right?
Yeah, 6th is wide open for me, but
I have another meeting, but I might be able to shuffle.
The 6th, or, okay. Ed, are you available? Okay, good. Okay, we'll discuss that a little bit later on then, once we
thank you.
know everything. So if that's all, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second. All in favor? All right, we're adjourned.